Hello, good people, and welcome to Hillbilly Cat History, Priscilla's Memphis Media Blitz 1979. Hi, Mike. Hi, Debbie. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. We're going to get into more Priscilla shenanigans as soon as we return from this song, Threads and Dreams.
He wore a yellow shirt, black pants in the sun, rode horses through silence, then golf carts for fun. A ranch just 10 miles from the mansion's bright gate, where the myth met the morning and time learned to wait. George fixed the brickwork, the pipes in the ground, lit BP on shirt where no spotlight was found. Donna kept diaries, snapshots ahead of a father who labored, of a myth made by men. He didn't ask for gold, didn't dream of a crown, just a place to be still when the world spun around. In the hands of the quiet, in the stitch of a scene, he carried the weight of a half-finished dream. The holster was worn, leather was cracked, BP etched in thread, no glory attached. Mike shaped the saddle, the belt and the law, so Elvis could ride through a myth he adored. He didn't ask for gold, didn't dream of a crown, just a place singing still, that courage spun out in the hang out the fight, the mistakes on the sea. We drained the weight of the hurts and his teeth. Snowstorms in March, to fairgrounds at night. He chased peace in motion and shadow and light. And Priscilla saw him, silhouette aglow, breathing in twilight, steady and slow. He didn't ask for gold, didn't dream of a throne, just laughter at breakfast, a place to call home. In the hush of the ranch, in the hands of the crew, they found what was real, and he gave it to you.
Thank you all for gathering here at Hillbilly Cat History, where we remember together and listen for the echoes. And today we're going to be hearing those echoes from that same article that we've been hearing from, but we're going to get through it all today. But we're going to start with what's on the bookshelf. We got two books. One's an Elvis book, and one's not an Elvis book. And we're going to start with the not an Elvis book. And that book for today is Destiny of the Republic. A Tale of Madness, Medicine, and the Murder of a President. And you can see this was a national bestseller. I'm sure when it was a hardback, but this is one of those kind of large paperbacks. Mostly all words on the back. This is about President James Garfield. And it says, James Abram Garfield was one of the most extraordinary men ever selected president. Born into abject poverty, he rose to become a wonder-kind scholar, a Civil War hero, a renowned congressman, and a reluctant presidential candidate who took on the nation's corrupt political establishment. But 4 months after Garfield's inauguration in 1881, he was shot in the back by a deranged office seeker named Charles Guiteau. And I'm probably mispronouncing that. Garfield survived the attack, but became the object of bitter behind-the-scenes struggles for power over his administration, over the nation's future, and hauntingly over his medical care. Meticulously researched, epic in scope, and pulsating with an intimate human focus and high-velocity narrative drive, The Destiny of the Republic brings alive a forgotten chapter of U.S. history. So the reason that I'm actually interested in this book is that air conditioning was developed in order to keep James Garfield cool, and that's a picture of James on the front of the book, while he suffered from this gunshot wound. Unlike Abraham Lincoln, who passed away within a day, James lasted for a while. I think it was over a month, maybe like 3 months, while he slowly died from his gunshot. And that's the U.S. Navy created an air conditioning system, an air-conditioned one room of the White House, because the White House in the summer is in one of the hottest places in the world. It was a swamp before it was Washington, D.C. And that was the Not an Elvis book. Hi, Pamela. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. And the Elvis book for today is On Stage with Elvis Presley. The backstage stories of Elvis's legendary TCB band, James Burton, Ronnie Tutt, Glenn D. Harden, Jerry Sheff. As told to Stuart Coupe. Now, what does that mean? It means Stuart, he had a typewriter. Or he had a word processor. He was good at taking notes. He had a tape recorder. And he wrote it all down and got it ready to actually publish. Forward by Jerry Schilling. You can see the back says opening August 10th, Elvis Showroom International. There's the side of the book, On Stage with Elvis Presley, the backstage stories of Elvis's legendary TCB band. This book was published in 2020, so it's not that old, actually. I haven't really sat down and read all the way through it. I've read a couple of the stories out of it. It's fairly thin. The typing is fairly large. The spacing's fairly wide. So this is not a very dense book. It's just a happy memories book, really. And then there are some timelines in the back that are very interesting. So they give you the timelines by the day. And so that's what I wanted, so we could wrap that into our look at these years when we eventually cover them. This all the 70s, really. Just catching up on the chat here. All right, let's move on over to the main event we left off with this guy. His name is Joe Cassini. And he's talking about Priscilla Presley in 1978. And he said, Priscilla, she's just blossoming. Now, Joe, he's a choreographer. He's a very famous guy. And 20 years later, he's going to receive an award, a very prestigious award, the Feather Award. He's going to be presented by Ann-Margret, who will reveal at that moment publicly that she's a great friend of Joe's as well. So this kind of connects them all together, Joe and Priscilla and Ann-Margret. Hi, Patty. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. Hi, Jeff. Thank you for coming. Appreciate seeing you here, too. And Joe, he says, I think she's growing more and more in her own right. She's discovering talents and things about herself that she likes. This article goes on and says, Priscilla is planning a TV special about Elvis. It'll be an intimate portrait of her life with him, according to insiders. Now, I'm trying to think, but I don't remember a 1979 or a 1980, or I don't think there was even an 81 special on TV that was about Elvis that was done by Priscilla. Now, I could be wrong. So if you know about a Priscilla Elvis TV special, 1979, 1980, 1981, put it in the chat or the comments so that the rest of us know about it. This also says Priscilla's doing the special to show a side of Elvis that his fans have never seen, not to further her own ambitions. That's what her friends insist. Now, they don't name who her friends are. This is not a quote from a specific person, but it does say if there would be an Elvis TV special, it would not be to further Priscilla's career. Elizabeth says that she does not remember such a special either. She could be wrong too, but she definitely doesn't remember, and that was during the time she watched everything she could find about him. Yeah, I remember a Bill Bixby special, but I think that was even later too. I know there was several Geraldo things around then. I know Priscilla did something about opening Graceland that would have been around 81, 82. But I don't remember remembering my life with Elvis event or special. Maybe it turned into an event or something. And then this article says, but her friends feel this won't be the last TV viewers see of Priscilla. Well, that was prophetic because she does end up getting a part on Dallas. Now, another person enters who has given Priscilla dancing lessons. It doesn't say if this person is a friend. It just says that they're a professional dancer who has given Priscilla dancing lessons. This person is Tybee Brascia, or maybe Brascia, Brascia. And Tybee is Tybee, Tybee. Now, let's meet Tybee. I think I've got some footage of her. Hi, Anna. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. I believe this is Tybee's husband on screen. They were both dancers. So this is the lady that has given Priscilla dancing lessons. For those of you that keep up on Priscilla, let me know if you've ever seen her move like this. And Debbie says that she has seen Priscilla move like this. Hi, Tori. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. And Tori's saying, didn't Priscilla do Dancing with the Stars? I don't know if she did or not. I don't follow that show. I know Corey Feldman did it, but that's about as much as I know. And that's Tybee Brashia. Hope I'm saying her name right. And she said, I think Priscilla will eventually have a TV series or something like that. And she was right. So not only was she a great dancer, she could see the future a little bit, because she said that Priscilla would eventually have a TV series or something like that. And she got something like that. She was on a TV series. Wasn't just hers, but then she made it into the movies. And Debbie says that's where she saw Priscilla dancing. Oh, okay, that makes sense now. And Debbie says Corey Feldman, she knows who that is. He was in a lot of good movies when I was a kid. And the rest of this article says, let's go back here. Oh, they're talking to a guy named Gary Berwin. He's a millionaire in Los Angeles. He's a socialite. And Priscilla has visited his home several times. Now, this is not his home, but this is his business address. This is, it was originally the Athletic Club of Hollywood, and you can see these old-time cars. Back in this time, Errol Flynn used to work out here. This was before the days of Gold's Gyms and stuff like that. But people did still want to work out, and it wasn't super popular, but in a town where everything was built on your looks, you know, here, Errol Flynn, you could find him hanging out here. And then later on, this building was purchased, and this guy, Gary Berwin, owned, I think he owned it all, and he leased most of it out, but part of it he used for, he had some kind of recording empire or something like that. I don't know a lot about Gary at this point, but I've tracked him down to this building. And Debbie says that she loves some of Corey Feldman's movies. Yeah, I like The Burbs. I'm a big fan of The Burbs. And of course, The Goonies and Stand By Me and Gremlins. Now, Gary Berwin, what he said about Priscilla, and she's been over to his home several times, according to this article, and they've got a direct quote from him, and it's along with all these other quotes that include quotes from Michael Edwards, so this certainly seems legitimate. Gary says Priscilla's interested in television commercials and an acting career now. She's really working hard at it. This is something that's developed in the year since Elvis died. She wants to do things on her own instead of being in the shadow of Elvis. So that's what the guy who I believe owns this building, or at least has a very significant business here. And he's a millionaire socialite in Los Angeles. She says that Priscilla didn't have these dreams until after Elvis passed away, but now she's focused on breaking into television through commercials, and that's how she's going to get to her acting career. And Debbie says that she loves driving around Hollywood and Sunset and seeing the old homes. And I think Patty's agreeing that Priscilla was in the Dancing with the Stars. And Jeff says he wants to drive around Sunset and Hollywood as well. And Tori says she thinks Priscilla was made for the part of the Wicked Witch. Unfortunately, that had been years earlier. But maybe so. They were filming The Wiz around this time with Michael Jackson, I believe. And Debbie says she likes Stand By Me too. And Pamela says that Priscilla had a lot of self-belief. I think we might be able to say that at this point in time, that's true. So let's move on, because that's the end of that article, into Priscilla's Memphis Media Blitz, because I believe she's going to tell us something about what Gary just said about her trying to get this acting thing started. And it seems like the previous two people indicated the same thing. Now, we know from an interview we watched yesterday that Priscilla is, in fact, the new spokesperson for Wella Balsam Shampoo. And here we can see that Jacqueline Smith is also a spokesperson. And of course, Jacqueline is a famous actress. But of course, they've also got Phyllis Diller promoting their products. So I'm not sure that beauty is a requirement to be a spokesperson. I'm not sure what the requirement is, but Phyllis apparently fits the bill. Now, if you've ever seen Phyllis Diller, I think you'd be very surprised that she was the spokesperson for Wella hair products. There's also Cheryl Ladd. She too likes the same products that Priscilla now recommends. It's what's keeping her hair looking great in this picture. It says strong hair is beautiful hair. Wella Balsam Conditioner actually helps build new strength into your hair. And then they showed this like magnified microscope picture. This shampoo and conditioner, it's scientific. and therefore you can trust it. Cheryl Ladd says so. And Jeff says that Phyllis Diller was the first of the great female comics. She was hilarious. I just have never pictured her as a spokesman for beauty products. And Marion says that Priscilla was away from home very often, according to Lisa, and that Priscilla wanted to make a career and tried many different ways. And Elizabeth says that she's very surprised that Phyllis Diller was a spokesperson, along with Jacqueline Smith and Cheryl Ladd. Yeah, you don't think of those three as the Charlie's Angels, do you? Phyllis isn't in that particular picture when you think of it. And yet I showed you the receipts, so we know it's true. And Marion says that she remembers that Wella was very well known in her childhood around the 80s. Here's another Cheryl Ladd picture. Now there's 100% oil-free deep conditioner that turns damaged hair into healthy-looking hair in just 5 minutes. That's what Cheryl's got to tell us. Wella Balsam Deep Conditioner. And they're introducing it in this ad. And Cheryl does have some great looking hair, so I guess we can trust her. Just like Priscilla. Farrah Fawcett loves Wella. You will too. Love your hair, Wella. And Farrah's got some pretty great hair in this picture. And there's somebody we all know and love. The newest Wella spokesperson, Priscilla Presley. And this picture was taken on October 17th, 1979, at a press conference announcing her as the new spokeswoman for Wella Balsam at the Regency Hotel in New York City, New York. And Elizabeth says, wow, that's a group of beautiful women. And Priscilla, she's right in there with them. Patty says that she loves Phyllis Diller. Now, this is the same day. This is a color picture. I did not AI color this. I believe this is the true picture. I can't swear to that. I didn't take the picture. I just found it on the internet. But her hair does look amazing here, and it doesn't look like it does in the interviews that we're looking at. And those interviews were in September, and this is October, and she already knew then that she was the Wella person. So I guess this is a later ceremony. And I think they've done her hair in order to, promote the product. And Elizabeth says, and then we see Priscilla, and all of the others are much more talented. Yeah, perhaps even Phyllis Diller. And Tori says that they still have Wella in salons today. Well, let's hear a little bit from Priscilla about this. Oh.
And we're back on the air, and good morning to Priscilla Presley. Do you feel like you're back home?
Yes, I do. I really do.
What, has Memphis changed much to you, Priscilla, as you come in and out of it?
When I fly in, I cannot believe the growth in this town. I came in at night this time, and the city, it's spread out so much now. When I first came here, it was just the airport, the little airport that before the one now.
Oh, yes, the
I flew in there once, and then from then on they were building the present airport, and it has grown, really.
Well, you traveled the world with your dad, I guess, in the service, so was Memphis really the longest you were in any one place, and is
Yes.
it kind of home for you?
Well, Memphis and now Los Angeles, but, well, actually I lived in Memphis more than Los Angeles. But I guess I claim Memphis as my home.
Well, we certainly love to.
She claims Memphis as her home. So that's interesting because the other interview that we saw yesterday actually occurred a day before this one. And she didn't seem to be as sure that Memphis was her home in that interview. But here, she is fairly sure that it's her home. And she's decided to claim it. But it's taken her a day, right? Like, I think she's been thinking about this overnight because this was not the way she described it the day before. I think she's understanding in the moment on this interview that she's lived in Memphis longer than she did anywhere else. And that is a window into Priscilla's psyche. That, you know, Elvis moved around, but he moved around in a very small geographic area. And he moved around a lot in two different, very small geographic areas. So he never really lost like his friends and stuff. He would make new friends, but they would actually become part of the old circle of friends, even though he didn't spend as much time with the older circles. Priscilla actually moved geographically from place to place to place until Elvis gave her roots in Memphis. And Debbie says that Priscilla did pretty good in Dallas, that she saw a video of her. And it's kind of a soap opera thing, so you'd really have to watch a bunch of them in a row to tell, and I just never have. But I do know people that really liked her in that series. And Jeff says he remembers that Wella shampoo smells great. Pamela says that Memphis is her home, but she doesn't live there. And that is another odd thing about Priscilla's statement. And, to me, it just says either she's, overtly deceptive, or she is very conflicted inside herself and doesn't know the answers to these questions. And therefore, they shift all the time because she doesn't know herself about this. Like, where is your home, Priscilla? She's not sure. She doesn't know how to define it. And Marion says that Priscilla was very often fighting with her hair in interviews. The more uncomfortable the questions is, the more she fights with her hair. That is an interesting observation. And Debbie says that Elvis did rent homes in California. He even bought some, but his home was always Graceland. That's right. And that's where he escaped from the press. In yesterday's interview, we saw that Priscilla said, you went to Los Angeles to escape from the press. And that's obviously untrue. That can't be right. So the question is, does she understand that's not right? Does she understand? Does she hear herself when she speaks sometimes? And Debbie says she never seriously watched Dallas, but she just happened to see that video on YouTube. Yeah, and I'm not denying that Priscilla she had enough skills to carry off a part in a show. I mean, and she could do the blocking and the memory work and all of that. I just don't know that she was good at carrying emotion. I think she was good in the comedies because she's so straight, that she's not comedic at all. Elvis was actually funny in the comedy parts that he did. Like, he had really great comic timing. And I've always felt like Priscilla's was more, the director had great comic timing and he put Priscilla into the right spot. But I could be wrong about that. Obviously, I didn't work on those sets. And Debbie's saying that she believes Priscilla is from New York. Well, they moved around so much, and they left from Texas, I think, before they went to California. And so I think, like, her first, boyfriends and crushes were in Texas. I can't swear to that. But let's hear what else that she has to say in this interview.
Blame you. Did you prepare yourself in any way now for your new job with Wella Balsam?
Well, this is my first appearance, publicly with Wella. It isn't going to be announced until October that I'm officially with it. And it was just by accident that it was Memphis. They had already had the date set a year ago. And when they told me Memphis would be this first date, I was shocked. I go, oh my gosh. Well, it's wonderful because people have really been very nice. And it's nice to see familiar faces.
Don't you feel like people are generally nice, though,
Oh.
the country over? Or have you had bad experiences with them?
No, I haven't. I honestly can say I haven't had any bad experiences. People have been great, very friendly, very respectful. There's been no problems.
I bet hairdressers were kind of looking you over yesterday when you went to make your appearance, did they?
I'm sure.
Did they start
I'm sure
asking
they
you a lot of questions? How long have you been using the Wella Balsam product?
Well, I just
Isn't it funny how often hairdressers come into the picture with Elvis stories? Like, there are a lot of hairdressers and barbers that are involved in Elvis history, and this continues right on after Elvis passes away, and Priscilla has hair products and hairdressers involved.
started using, I've used Wella before I became contacted with a company. And I always went back to Wella. I mean, I always used the conditioner, and then I'd try something else, like everyone else does. You go back and forth. And I can honestly say it's a wonderful product. I went to the plant in New Jersey, and geez, it's nice to know that there's someone who cares.
How much now are you going to be working? Or do you consider it like a full-time?
Patty is pointing out that Priscilla has also said she hated Memphis. And that's true as well, I believe. And Pamela says that Priscilla's been playing a part her whole life. I think there's a lot of truth to that. And I also noticed that Marge here, who is the host and in the green, first of all, she is a delightful host. And she does put a person at their ease. That is her job. But I think that she is personally delighted that Priscilla is there. That she believes that Priscilla is someone very special. And I don't know if that's a holdover from Elvis. We heard that person who went to school with Elvis in Humes High School. And they said for the rest of their life, whenever they mentioned that they'd been to high school with Elvis, it got them something special, a special place in a restaurant, a special seat in a theater, a cut in the line. They didn't have to wait as long, something like that. There was always a special benefit for having known Elvis. And Priscilla, I mean, who knew Elvis better than Priscilla, at least from the perspective of anyone else in the world in 1978 or 79? Anyone would have thought Priscilla knew him better than possibly anyone in the world. And I think that rubs off on everybody she meets. And Marge is she's just tickled to have Priscilla on this program. And she's built the entire segment around it. And Debbie's saying because she was married to Elvis. That's right.
Job.
No, it's not a lot of work. I mean, I'll be doing some public appearances for them, and I'll be doing a commercial, and then I'll be doing print work.
Do you have any background now for what you're doing except just being you and lovely and pretty and all of those good things?
You mean
Have you been studying theater or anything?
Well, I've taken commercial acting class, only just to get familiar with the camera. As you can see, I'm looking at the camera.
Only just to get familiar with the camera. Now, I don't think that's the only reason she took the acting class. I think it's so that she could act in a production. That's why you need to be able to use the camera, to know where the camera's at. So she's not lying. She did take it in order to learn about the camera. But I don't think that's the whole goal here. And Patty says that for someone who said she was shy and didn't want to be in the spotlight, she always throws herself in front of the camera. And now she's, so Patty, you're right. And she's saying here, she's confirming, she's even taking classes to figure out where to throw herself in front of the camera so that, they get the best shot. And Mike says that so many people had their claws trying to ride Elvis's coattails.
All right.
That's
Get away
all
from the
right.
camera.
That's-
No, and I've taken some acting classes. I didn't really care for acting classes because I feel that sometimes it can take away, or give you inhibitions, or I don't know, I'm not that familiar with them. I'm not doing this to get into an acting career. I'm doing it because I would like to do something very constructive and something.
Did you hesitate at all?
Priscilla is not taking acting classes in order to get into an acting career. She just wants to do something constructive. And she's not sure if acting classes increase your inhibitions or decrease them. But she also says she hasn't taken very many of them. That appears to be the gist of that statement. And Debbie says that the moment that Priscilla came to California, she fell in love with it, and that Elvis is the one who showed her around Los Angeles. That's true. In 1963, I think that is the date. Something right around that.
Making yourself as
Yes.
public as you're going to be now.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I still feel it's not really public. I mean, I don't feel I'm doing anything any different than appearing in movie magazines or any of the other magazines that are out.
Which reminds me, how does all of that affect you, Priscilla? I mean, you can hardly pick up any
Yeah.
magazine. I go in, yeah.
I don't look at them. If I happen to see one, I'll glance and I'll see a recent picture and I'll wonder where they got that from, or it looks kind of silly standing in a magazine rack looking at articles. I've done that if I see a real captivating, title that I go, I think, what did they get that from? It's
Have
kinda
you ever been
curious.
tempted to answer any of them?
So Priscilla's admitting that in the grocery store aisle, she has been tempted and has looked at articles about herself. And she gives some various reasons that she's looked at these articles and wonders where they got this or that picture. Now we know that she's also, because we just read one of the articles, she's complicit in all this, that she herself has given interviews and information to the tabloid articles. She's either had pictures taken or she's given them pictures or licensed pictures or something so that they could run with some of these articles. So that's why she might be wondering where those pictures came from. She understands how this whole licensing thing works now. Mike says that Elvis himself said that he would really never know if they're truly friends or girlfriends that love him or just love the image, and that it's very sad. Yeah, he said something like that to Donna Presley. And that's when she realized she's a fairly lucky person because she mostly did not have to deal with that.
Yes, I have. I mean, I have to admit, a few have gotten to me, but it's like I've said before. If you start something and then the public really, they think it's true, I don't know where they get half of that stuff from.
She doesn't know where they get half of the stuff from. That kind of implies that she does know where they get the other half of the stuff from, and at least some of that half comes from her. Because, again, she participated in all of this publishing behavior.
I'm glad you said that because some of our viewers at home might think that all of these things
I hope not. Please, the pictures are great. I think they're fun. If you go somewhere, they'll start taking pictures, and I'll look at them, the pictures, and say, well, that was from such and such. Now, how did I do that? Oh my God, my hair looked awful there. Why is that there?
I was looking at you today, and you're so small and pretty, And some of the pictures that we've had on I told you, Elvis Memory Series that we
Yes,
ran.
yes.
You had, short skirts and much
God.
eye makeup.
And I hear the short skirts are coming back, and I'm petrified if they're ever as short as they were. I mean, how did we wear those skirts?
I don't know. I can't remember sitting in them. Can you?
Oh my God! It must have been, constantly tugging. But I hope they don't come back that short this year.
Are you doing any designing anymore?
No, I gave my shop up 2 years ago, after 4 years of being in the business with my partner.
That must have been a great outlet for you, though.
It was. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the people. As I said, earlier, that it was a nice feeling to go into the shop and know it's yours and just have fun with it.
Have you had a hard time with your own identity, Priscilla?
No, not really. Not at all.
Now, Marge, as nice of a person as she is, and as much as she's put Priscilla at ease, she jumps out with this question. Have you had a problem with your own identity? So Marge, she sees directly into, I think, what Priscilla's issue is, and it's Priscilla's own identity. She's asked her some questions here, and Priscilla couldn't really identify where her home was, or some other basic things that would be the foundation of your personality. And I think Marge is a very empathetic person. She is a Nashville or a Memphis television personality. She did a lot of interviews with a lot of people in the Elvis world, and she's always extremely kind and nice to all of them. So I believe she was very empathetic, and that at this moment she's feeling like she can see something and it's almost like they're just sitting in a living room. She's created that kind of atmosphere, and here on a television program, she just asks Priscilla if she has a problem with her identity, and Priscilla gives her a real answer, which is that Priscilla doesn't think she does. And I'm sure that's true. I'm sure Priscilla does not think that she does have an identity problem.
I think sometimes when you are in the shadow of someone great, and yet I see you now, and there, it's just because.
Now, Elizabeth's pointing out that Priscilla said she did have a problem with her identity when she was married to Elvis. And she did hint at that in some earlier National Enquirer articles. And here we have Marge kind of reinforcing that for her. And then in a few years, we're going to see her polished biography. And it's going to include a whole lot of stuff like that. But I think in this moment, she just got caught off guard, and this is what she really feels. I don't have a problem with my identity. And Elizabeth says that she realizes they were both different times, but still, yeah, I think that people said to her that she had a problem, and maybe she did recognize that after a while. But then she kind of turns around and blames it on Elvis as well. Hi, Luann. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. And Monica sings that she's a complicated lady. Everybody is, but you can just see it coming out in this interview.
Because you didn't want to be up front.
Now, Marion mentioned that she plays with her hair and has an issue with her hair. She fights it when she's nervous. And now that she's trying to think about this ID question, she stuck her hand into her hair, and she doesn't seem to be able to retrieve her hand. Let's just go back a little bit and track that out, since we have had a viewer bring this to our attention.
Time with your own identity, Priscilla?
No, not really. Not at all.
She's comfortable right there.
I think sometimes when you are in the shadow of someone great, and yet I see you now.
It's right there when Marge begins to actually, no, I don't think so. She's ready to move on from the question. And Marge digs a little deeper, and with that slight deeper tug, her hand shot up into her hair. Let's just watch that again.
Feeling to go into the shop and know it's yours and just have fun with it.
Have you had a hard time with your own identity, Priscilla?
No, not really. Not at all.
I think sometimes when you're in the shadow of someone great.
Boom. It's right there. And let's track how long it stays up there.
And yet I see you now, and there, it's just because you didn't want to be up front.
She's scratching away here. Her face is also uncomfortable. She does not like this moment. She knows where that camera is, and she's flipped her hair a little bit to cover the other half of her face.
Before, the reason that you haven't been.
Yeah.
What about your daughter?
And now her face is hardened. And her eyes say that she's very unhappy.
Did she ever talk about wanting to be an actress or anything, Lisa?
Now a question has been asked about Lisa. The pressure's been taken off. She cracked a little smile there all of a sudden, and it's like all the tension just left the room. Marge is amazing. Like, Marge saw all of that in those moments with that hand, and then she twisted the question just enough to bring a relaxation back into the program.
Let's see. I think she may, I don't know. She loves to sing and she has a great talent for piano.
Does she really? Is she taking lessons?
She's taken lessons. She hates it.
Lisa is taking piano lessons. She's great at the piano. She hates it. So she has talent for the piano, but she does not like the piano. And that could mean a lot of things. Like, does she not like the practicing? Like, when I was a kid, I always wanted to play guitar. And I liked to play guitar, but I did not like to play guitar in the sense that I had to practice every day, or had to learn something, or I had to make the money that my parents spent on lessons worth it. I did not understand the value of the money that went into those lessons. So I understand what Lisa's feeling here, as well as what Priscilla's thinking as a parent, although I'm sure the value of the money isn't occurring as much to Priscilla.
But I'm trying to encourage her, not to be, not necessarily to be famous, but for her own outlet and her, because she needs something, to release frustration or whatever at this time.
Now, did you see that thing with Priscilla's eyes when she talked about Lisa's frustration? And that Lisa needs to let out frustration? Let's watch this again.
Taking lessons?
She's taken lessons. She hates it. But I'm trying to encourage her, not to be, not necessarily to be famous, but for her own outlet and her, because she needs something, to release frustration or whatever at this time of her age, being 11, which is really going into a bad time.
Priscilla believes that age 11 is really going into a bad time. That it's at age 11 that children show a lot of frustration. That tells you something about how Priscilla grew up. Because I don't think that that's true about an 11-year-old. You guys tell me what you think in the chats. I'm sure that you have a lot more child experience than I do. But I feel like the terrible times begin more around 13, 14, 15, kind of a high school thing. Sometimes junior high, but really kind of a high school thing. And that if your child is having this kind of frustration that needs to be let out through piano playing at age 11, that might indicate other kinds of issues. But I don't know. I don't know what all was going on. But her eyes got very wide when she talked about Lisa's frustrations at age 11.
I'd like to see her pursue piano.
Does she have a lot of by ear
Yes.
ability?
Yes, she does. She really does. I'm jealous because I can't play the piano.
Priscilla, how does she handle all the publicity and it's still going on? Do you keep a lot of it away from her?
Yes, she really doesn't know a lot what's going on. I don't allow her to look at the papers. Not that I say you can't look at it, but she knows she's not to go around the newsstands and like if we go to a grocery store, you know, she can't wander off. She stays right with me. I don't feel it's healthy. There's no reason for her to see any of that stuff. When a lot of publicity came out, she was in camp at the time, so she missed it all. And
Hi, Mark. Thank you for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. And Anna's asking, how old is Priscilla in this interview? I believe 34. I think she is exactly 10 years younger than Elvis, so I think it's 34. Not exactly sure about that. And Debbie says that this kind of frustration could start young in a childhood if there was abuse in the family too. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That doesn't point out. Elizabeth's saying that it's crazy that that's not true about an 11-year-old. And that's, I think, you know, and Priscilla just says it as if it is true. As if this is just the way that the world is. And the host doesn't say anything about it, but I don't think that's what Marge thinks. And I think Marge realizes already that she stumbled onto something that's deeper than what she thought it was. She's not like the other two hosts that's completely blinded by the fact that this is Priscilla. And so there are some nice moments about Lisa that are being said here. So we're going to come back to listen to this again. In the next episode, or a future episode, I'm not sure we're going to return to this tomorrow. We will return to it sometime in the future. I've got some other thoughts about spinning away from Priscilla for a little while. But that brings us to the end of another episode. There's Priscilla in the ad for Wella. And another Priscilla ad for Wella. These are from 1980. So 79 in October is when they announce it, and then she makes it into the ads in the next year. And then that was actually Priscilla from 76. So from a few years before. And I think she looks younger in these newer pictures, actually. So that's 4 years later. And then that's 4 years before. But that brings us to the end of this show. So I'm going to send us out of here on a song. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. I do appreciate it. And I appreciate all your chats and your comments and your opinions. And everything that I say is just my opinion. So everybody gets to walk away with their own opinion and put it in the chats or into the comments. Be sure that you liked and that you're subscribed so that you see the next episode of Hillbilly Cat History. And you all keep on taking care of business. This is Trust in Motion.
Radio static, Memphis bound, WABQ homes a sacred sound. Green, green grass, again and again. The DJ's risk for a loyal friend. Elvis smiles, no words exchanged, just a test of love on a range. Keys in the dark, showroom and blow, a Cadillac waits in a silent show. Merry Christmas, GK said, a yellow chariot, tears unshed. What's fame and fortune worth, my friend, if it's not something we can lend? The Chevy Impala, still shining new, passed from blind to the Circle G crew. Gary